Hi, welcome back to Putting the Story in History. And today, for our second episode, I plan on telling a story that spans two world wars um, and some risky decisions that ended up paying off in the end. And that's the story of my family, actually. So to begin, we have to go all the way back to Armenia before the First World War. Um, my grandfather's parents, well, my grandfather's family is originally from Armenia. That's where they um, had lived for centuries. They're Armenian. And when the First World War came around, um, the Ottoman Empire, which was in control of Armenia at the time, um, used the Armenian people as a scapegoat for their troubles and ended up rounding them up and executing them by marching them to Syria. Um, Now, before this all could happen, my grandfather's family managed to escape. They kind of saw what was coming, and they made it across the Bosporus Strait from Turkey all the way to Greece. And they survived World War One, living in Greece. Um, and then, 30, not 30, yeah, so 20-ish years later, World War II was beginning, and my grandpa was a young guy. He was about 17 when the Italian army decided to invade Greece, and that invasion didn't go well. And so, to mop up the Italians' mess, um, the Nazis invaded Greece, and they took over the country. And to kind of to make that a worthwhile invasion, what they did is they took young people from Greece, including my grandpa, and they took them to Austria to work in factories to work on, like parts for tanks or weapons or whatever. And so my grandpa was taken from Greece, from his home, and he was moved to Austria, and he was forced to work in a factory there for the war during the war. And it was during this time that he ended up meeting my grandma. My grandma was born in Linz, Austria, and the two of them hit it off and fell in love. And when the war ended, um, they were kind of in a sticky situation. They had to decide if they were going to stay in Austria um, or go somewhere else. And when the World War II ended, Austria was made a neutral state, so it wasn't supposed to be controlled by the American allies or by the Soviet allies. It was supposed to remain neutral, and nobody was supposed to be messing with them. And so they were living in Austria, but they had family members who were in the Russian occupied territories, and they had family that were in the Ally um, occupied territories. And in that time, in the late 40s and early 50s, Europe didn't really seem like a very safe place, and they had just had their first child, my aunt Sylvia, and so they made the difficult decision to leave their home, to leave Austria, and come to the United States. And so they were sponsored by a church organization to come over, um, and they they came over, and they were supposed to go to Pennsylvania, but there was an outbreak. Sounds familiar? A disease outbreak in Pennsylvania at the time, and so they were like, "Well, it's not really safe for you to go there. So instead, we're going to send you to Urbana, Illinois." And so they went moved to Urbana, um, and they set up shop there. My grandma was a hairdresser for years, basically up until she died just a few months ago. My grandpa was a carpenter, so he worked with wood and did all sorts of stuff with that. He worked for the university in Urbana, which is the University of Illinois, and he did a bunch of other different things. And together they had four children, and one of which was my dad. And it every kind of time I think about it, it kind of amazes me the historical events that have been intertwined in my family's history. Um, a great tragedy like the Armenian genocide, World War II, and the destruction and carnage of that, um, and all of that all ends up leading to my family becoming a thing, and it's pretty crazy how all those significant historical events can intertwine into just one family's journey from Europe to America to seek a better life. Um, and so, um, especially in these days and times, it really makes me think about um, how lucky they were that a country like the United States existed, where they accepted people from everywhere to come and live and start anew. When my grandparents moved here, they didn't know English, or they barely knew any English, and they were able to carve a life out for themselves and my family. Um, so, that's quite the story. It's one that I tell proudly. I'm very proud that I'm Armenian and Austrian, and that my grandparents made that tough decision to move here and do what they thought was right for their family. Um, and then it's also worked out really great, I guess, in my end, because now I have family in other countries, um, who I've gotten to meet and know and visit, um, and uh, really get to experience some wonderful things, because my family is scattered about and diverse and um, great in that way. Anyways, thanks for listening to the second episode of Putting the Story in History. Stay tuned for our third episode, which I'm not sure what it's going to be about yet, but it's going to be about something, and it's going to be great. Thanks for watching. Bye.